All right, today we're digging into the story behind what is, without a doubt, one of the most famous haunted houses in the world. It's this incredible legend that's built on a truly horrifying real-life crime, a supposed haunting and, well, decades and decades of controversy.
Get out. I mean, just 2 words, but they're so chilling. That's the command a Catholic priest allegedly heard from this deep, booming voice while he was blessing a new home. And that single moment is the legendary kickoff to a terrifying 28-day ordeal that would pretty much capture and scare the entire world.
Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to start with the story that most of us know, the one from Jay Anson's crazy best-selling book and that iconic 1979 movie. This is the story the Lutz family told, the one they said literally drove them from their dream home.
So, picture this. It's December 1975. George and Kathy Lutz move into 112 Ocean Avenue. But within just a few days, that dream completely falls apart. I mean, they claimed pretty much every paranormal thing you can imagine was happening. Phantom smells, sudden, freezing cold spots, and George started waking up, night after night at exactly 3:15 a.m., the same time the murders had happened in that house just a year earlier.
And then there was Jody. The Lutz's youngest daughter, Missy, made a new friend, an imaginary one. It was this pig-like thing with glowing red eyes. And it wasn't just Missy who saw it. George Lutz swore he saw Jody too, just staring at him from a window. And later, they said they found these weird cloven hoofprints outside in the snow.
But here's the thing. This absolutely spectacular ghost story, it's all built on the foundation of a real and incredibly brutal human tragedy. To really get the legend, you have to understand the crime that came first. And to do that, we've got to rewind the clock about 13 months. Long before the Lutz family ever even saw 1112 Ocean Avenue.
So on this cold November night, the house's dark history was, well, it was written in blood. The eldest son, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., who was known to be a troubled guy and a heroin user, methodically murdered his entire family.
6 victims. 6. His parents, Ronald Sr. and Louise, and all 4 of his younger siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. Every single one of them shot in their beds while they slept.
And the crime scene itself was just bizarre. I mean, despite these incredibly loud rifle shots going off, none of the neighbors reported hearing a single thing. And even stranger, all 6 victims were found lying face down in their beds, with no signs of any kind of struggle. It was this gruesome kind of unresolved mystery that really set the stage for everything that was about to happen.
But you know, almost as soon as the Lutz's story just exploded into this media frenzy, some really serious doubts started popping up. And then came the accusations that the whole thing was a hoax.
And here it is, the bombshell. This is a direct quote from William Weber. And who's he? He was Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s own defense attorney. He came out and publicly claimed that he and George Lutz literally sat down and made the whole thing up, cooked up the haunted story just to make money from a book deal.
So people started digging, and the story really started to unravel. Researchers began fact-checking the claims in the book, and they found these huge inconsistencies. Like, remember those giant hoof prints they supposedly found in the snow on New Year's Day? Well, weather reports from that exact date show there wasn't any snow on the ground in Amityville. At all.
And it wasn't just the snow. The book talked about all this massive physical damage to the house, like the front door being blown right off its hinges. But then the family who bought the house after the Lutzes, the Cromarties, they actually went on TV to show everyone that the door and a lot of other parts of the house were totally intact. They were the originals.
But here's where it gets complicated, because this story isn't as simple, it happened or it didn't. It gets way more complex and honestly, maybe more tragic when you start looking inside the Lutz family itself. So get this, George Lutz's own stepson, Christopher, who was just a kid at the time, has this totally fascinating take. He insists, even today, that there was an evil presence in that house, but he also says his stepfather was a professional showman who was messing around with the occult, basically invited the entity in and then just wildly exaggerated everything for fame and money. So you're left with these 3 completely competing realities. You've got the official story from George and Kathy, you have the total hoax accusation from the lawyer, and then you have the stepson's version, right in the middle. A real event that was just exploited for profit. 3 totally different narratives, all about one house.
Because here's the thing. No matter what really happened during those 28 days,
the story itself just took on a life of its own. It became this massive, and I mean incredibly profitable, cultural phenomenon.
And sure, the Lutz family, they made some money from the book and the movie rights, but it's just a tiny, tiny fraction of the bigger picture. Their story created this whole cottage industry that, by some estimates, has pulled in around $500 million.
The name Amityville basically became a brand, and because the basic story is in the public domain, it has led to this seemingly endless flood of sequels, prequels, remakes, and all kinds of unofficial spin-offs. It's got to be one of the most prolific horror franchises of all time.
You know, this quote from Laura Didio, a journalist who actually covered the story from day one, it really captures the modern view of this whole saga. She suggests that the true horror wasn't something demonic, but something very human. A story about greed, about family trauma, and about exploitation.
So in the end, whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Amityville saga is still with us because it lives in that fuzzy, gray area right between fact and fiction. It really makes you ask, where is the line between a real event, a flawed memory, and the powerful, incredibly profitable allure of a terrifying story?